Well, hello YouTube, how you doing? I haven't done a video for a while, I haven't done a video for a little while anyway. Thought I'd do some of the stuff I was doing anyway. I was doing a combination of different things. Sorry, I'm just on my Facebook and it's a combination of that. I picked up a power supply for the kitchen computer, so then I can offhand the power supply that's in the kitchen computer currently, and use that for my gaming build, which I'm going to be building very, very, very shortly. Very soon, actually. It's in the process of being built right at this moment. So I've also picked up a new headset as well because I'm having some issues with my other Razer. It's actually not an issue with the Razer headset. Basically, the wiring has become tangled over time. The new headset I'm getting is still a Razer headset. It's a different model, I think. Look, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad headset, but it's just more of a case of the wiring getting tangled, and to repair it, I have to pretty much take the entire headset apart, and it's not viable for me. It's just cheaper for me. I mean, I'd have to basically rerun the wire if I wanted to repair the headset. That's pretty much the problem. To be honest, it's just easier to get a cheap headset. So I got a cheap Razer one, which was only about $69, $70 or something like that. Picked up one of those. So basically what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to use that as my main headset, sort of combination for gaming and everything else. Picked up a headset, picked up some RAM for my dad's computer because I want matching RAM for my dad's computer. Basically because the RAM he's got in there now at the moment doesn't match up. It's sort of all the same speed, it's not the same timing. To be honest, I'd rather have all the same RAM with the same speed, same timing, and I know exactly what's going into the system. Basically because my dad's been having a couple of issues with his computer just freezing randomly and not starting up properly, which, to be honest, I think is a RAM-related issue because I noticed I did improve it for a while with taking some RAM sticks out. I put some RAM sticks back in because everything started to work properly then. But anyway, I'm going with the most compatible RAM for that board, which is okay, that's fine. I'm also getting a new chair because this one's currently sort of falling apart. The one I've got, which I paid $100 for it at the time when I bought it. The new one I paid a little more than $100. But considering the fact that it's got an 8-point massage system built into it, which is quite cool, by the way. I thought that was a good plus on the side of the side of that. And it was a pretty good price for the chair. The chair wasn't overly expensive, and it wasn't detrimentally expensive anyway. So I got RAM, power supply, headset, and chair, which is the 4 things I'm waiting on. Which I don't know. I'll probably get them sometime this week, most likely. It's a case of just waiting it out. I'm just basically waiting it out for them. A combination of that. So yeah, pretty much just got to wait for them to arrive. Shouldn't take that long, hopefully. Shouldn't take too long. Aside from that, I just want to do a basic project, which is putting a computer together. Gaming computer, which I'm going to sell. At this point in time, I'm just fiddling around with some different bits and pieces. You know, I've mostly been doing. I've mostly been spending time with my girlfriend in combination. I've also been talking to my friends occasionally, having a couple of drinks in there, just mainly for Christmas and New Year and all that. You know, having a few drinks, relaxing, chilling, basically. Just taking it easy, really. Just, you know, holiday period and all that stuff. Aside from that, what else have I been doing? I've been mucking around a little bit with my game capture stuff. A little bit of my Xbox 360 stuff. Not totally. I need to get back into that a little more, to be honest. I don't know. At this point, it's just sort of up in the air. So I've mostly just been having a couple of drinks, relaxing, chilling. You know, trying my best to sort of get my head around a few things, thinking about potential future stuff, trying to get my girlfriend over here too as a point, as I'm trying to get her to I can get a ticket so I can get her over here basically to spend some time with me. physical contact sort of thing, combination of that. And, we do love each other completely, and as I said, to be honest, we're connecting very well. So, I don't know, I mentioned in my last video I was talking about my girlfriend, but I mean, look, just basically now at the moment, it's sort of just a steady thing. It's a steady thing where I'm just sort of working out exactly. I mean, it's probably going to be a few months before I actually end up getting my girlfriend out here. But in the initial state of things and all the stuff that I do, let's just go with I'm starting my initial rundown of doing everything I normally do. What else? Basically, I've just been trying to find exactly... I mean, I know I want to do repairs and everything else. I do repairs, and I do get repairs here and there. My business has been it's been a little slow, but I mean, up into coming over Christmas. I mean, I had a few people send me texts and stuff like that for specific things, but then I think a couple of them I've actually looked up, and the prices weren't, like, in the sense like replacing screens. I mean, I don't mind replacing screens and doing stuff like that, but to be honest, I mean, most cases you're probably better off replacing the laptop, to be truthful, with some of the screens. I don't know, especially because the labour factor more in my mind. I mean, it depends though. But I mean, most of the time I'm finding with the labour, it's just the labour can be a little bit excessive sometimes. So I have to actually look up. There's a couple of models with somebody left me. I don't know. Look, I've mostly been relaxing for the holidays and just doing the holiday stuff. I mean, basically I've been trying to cordon most of that stuff off. And I like to relax over the holidays. I like to have a bit of fun. Things of that nature, basically. At the end of it, I think. Let's see. That's what I wanted. Just want to look up a certain model number. Somebody did point this out to me before. I mean, I'm still technically on holiday. I mean, technically I'm still on holiday from doing some of the stuff I want to do. Like, just generally. Shit. Seriously? Alright, so the sense of that stuff these days. E1 531. Actually, shit, that's not what I wanted. Why am I going to Google? Should be going to eBay. Fine. Alright. Spire. E1. E1. Replacement parts, $80, 60. See, in most cases, like, people ask me to replace screens in laptops. Now, the cost mostly involves my labour factor. I mean, minimum of 2 hours in my mind, and I charge, what, $70 an hour. So, 70 and 70, plus 80 for the screen. By the time you factor all that in, you're better off investing in a new laptop at the end of it. Just for the fact that it involves my labour costs, and it involves not just the labour cost, but it also involves the screen cost. Now, yeah, sure, the screens are, $80, $82, but you've got to consider the amount of work that you've got to do to get the screen off in the first place. The amount of effort that has to be put in to actually get the screen off in the first place. I mean, stuff like that. I don't know, I just thought I'd mention that to people who want to get screens replaced on laptops. There's nothing wrong with that, but you've got to consider the amount of effort that a technician has to put in. Keyboards, not as hard. But I mean, still, if you have to rip something down to the nth degree, to the guts of it completely, that's going to cost you. It's not going to be cheap. You know what I mean? It's sort of, it depends on the person, but, to be honest, yes, you can rush people through things, but then, a person's more likely to make a mistake if you're going to say that you're only going to get, they're only going to get an hour's labour or something like that. To be honest, I always do a thorough job whenever I do anything. I double check everything, I triple check it to see that actually, all the cables are in the right place, everything's in the right place, everything's clicked into the right areas, and, at the end of it, I actually try to do the best possible job I can, And, as I said, that doesn't always come cheap when you're trying to do the best possible job you can for someone. Mainly, I was just looking at this up just because customers curious about what the end cost would be. So let's see, at the end of it, I'd probably say 70 and 70 plus 80. By the time you factor that all up, you add that all up, and then there's some of this technology which is tablet-wise and things like that it's so throwaway that it's so easy to snap something out of place, in the sense of little plastic clips and things like that going awry and stuff like that. That just the fact that you have to be so fucking pedantic about it, that the end degree of work, that the involvement of it is ridiculous. You know what I mean? And yes, people come to me because they want to do it, but at the same time, I don't want to charge a pittance for it, because it's not the easiest job in the world, It's just the amount of, you consider the amount of time that you see that people do some YouTube videos which it's been sped up to a certain amount of time. That's because the person's actually taking a time lapse on a lot of the stuff they do. The amount of work that goes into something, if you actually sat there and watched the amount of work that goes into something and the amount of detail that goes into some things, you'd be quite amazed, But yeah, that was some of the stuff I was coming across. But laptops, things like that, most of the stuff's pretty easy to replace in most cases, but keyboards would be the easiest thing in most cases. Hard drives, RAM would be the primary thing. Hard drives and RAM are the easiest things to replace in a laptop. Screens, depends. Just depends on the screen, depends on the model, depends on what is involved in taking it apart. Normally it's a case of getting into the hinges and, being able to disconnect the screen correctly. Reconnecting all the wires, look, some of that stuff's hard, some of it's not, but I just thought I'd point that out to anybody who does, you can do DIY stuff yourself, but a lot of these tech and electronic stuff is getting more miniature, it's getting a little harder to see, and for some people it would get a little harder to see and a little harder to work with. But then there's the other side of the technology, which is the tablet technology, which is virtually throwaway. It's like, I'm sorry, you may as well just, throw away this component, because the replacement cost for such an advanced piece of technology, such a small little wire thing, is ridiculously high that, it's just no point in trying to replace it. I've had a little bit of work here. I've had, last week I had somebody come for viruses. I've had people come for hardware problems too. Depends on the person. It varies. It varies with some people, and it varies with the amount of detail that's involved with it. I always prefer to work with bigger components, desktop components, basically. Basically because of, basically because they're a lot easier to work with. They're a lot larger. There's a lot more room in most cases. Things aren't as easily damaged. And if you're getting replaced, I mean, like, with a replacement motherboard, model-specific stuff, the companies, because of the OEMs, they don't always charge, I mean, especially if you're replacing a whole entire motherboard inside a computer, inside a laptop especially, or a tablet, if you're replacing the whole motherboard, the cost can be exponentially higher in most cases, you know? And the sad fact is that it's not always cost effective. I mean, it's just not always cost effective because you may as well just go and buy a new one, because half the time new ones can be sought for a much lower price these days, depending on the situation. Saying that, I mean, I get people ask me about, internet connection, connecting stuff, networking, things like that. I do a combination of that. As I said, I do a combination of these things. I love working with software. I love working with, well, I don't mind working with software because, to be honest, most of the time I find virus cleanup pretty easy because I know all the nasty viruses out there. I know the exact sorts of combinations of software to use to get rid of it. I've had a fair bit of experience when it comes to getting rid of viruses and getting rid of stuff of that nature. Normally I have to run several programs over it, several different virus scanning programs over a computer to actually clean it up fully. Because normally you find there's leftover infections and underlying infections and toolbars and other shit that companies try to place on there, basically. And it does accumulate over time, especially in the case of people who are avid internet users. At the end of it, though, as I said, it varies with me. It varies on what level that I get it at. Then you've got desktop computers, which, if it's a hard drive, easy to pull the hard drive out and replace it. I mean, I try to do the best possible job I can, but, at the same time, nobody's perfect either, So what else? Yeah, I mean, it's basically, as I said, keeps me functional anyway. But okay, aside from that point, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it. Well, I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing with my channel at the moment. So, I mean, I want to get more hits, obviously, on my channel. I want to see if I can start bringing a revenue stream through that, things of that nature, And I've also got some stuff for sale on Gumtree as well. Game capture device, Ava Media. Got Ava Media. Recondition. I've got a combination of reconditioned air machines, bought a lot of HD DVDs, fallen computer repairs, which is my normal one, but yeah. No, but I mean, this is basically some of the stuff that I come across. Sorry. Anyway. But, yeah, no, look, I mean, to the honest extent in my mind, okay, when it comes to a lot of this stuff, especially repairs and stuff like that, you've got to consider the amount of work that the person puts into it, the amount of detail. I always make sure that my clients are cleaned up nicely with viruses and things like that. I try to organise the folder system a little bit more on the desktop so it makes it a little bit easier for loading things, getting things to load properly. Just, make it easier on the person, basically. At the same time, it's varying on the client, I guess. Most of the time I try to do the same thing for each client. That way they know, each client knows what to expect from it. So, yeah. Then I work with a combination of different operating systems, Windows, Mac OS. I haven't done any real big research with Mac OS for a while, so I don't know what their latest version would be up to. I probably would have to update myself on the latest version to see exactly how things work. I get some of the details out of it, But I mean, if it's a big hardware issue with a Mac, The issue with Macintoshes is mainly the hardware concerns in the sense of iMacs in particular. I wouldn't have a problem working on them, but at the same time, if you're in warranty, I mean, I don't specialise in Macs specifically, but I can work on them. I have never had a problem working on them and working with the software side of it. Hardware side, yes, I've worked on a little bit with the older G5s and things like that. The recent ones, which is the Core 2 Duos and such, I haven't done a lot of work on those. Doesn't mean that I'm not willing to have a go at it and see how it goes. At the same time, I think it's mostly the same hardware that you would find in a laptop sort of thing. Now, the only thing that I think is, well, I don't mind all-in-one computers. Don't get me wrong. I don't have anything against all-in-one computers, but to work on them in the hardware sense of things is a little more difficult just because of the amount of work involved. I mean, they're just as bad as a laptop in some ways because, you know, you're not separating things as much as a desktop would. Saying that, I mean, you know, in some ways, some of the things that you do on an all-in-one unit with screen and everything else and all that stuff built in would probably be a little bit different to a laptop. Laptop's a little, you know, probably be a fairly bit different. But I mean, especially if it was a company computer, the problem with company computers like Acer, HP, or those all-in-one units is that you have to get the parts directly from the manufacturer themselves, because to replace those parts, you'd need specifically the parts the manufacturer is designed to fit into that case. That's just from personal experience of fixing computers like that. It's mostly a case of, oh, well, if it doesn't fit, you know, it's a case of getting the part to fit. There's also another thing as well, trying out like some of these newer laptops, these thinner laptops these days, to get just to the hard drive even, is ridiculous. The amount of work that's involved. You have to pretty much strip down the computer to get to the hard drive, which is rather ridiculous. You shouldn't have to do that. But some manufacturers are making it more difficult for people to actually get to the laptop's hard drive or other components of that nature, simply because they're going for more proprietary limits and, you know, just, you know, basically making it harder for certain type of technicians to work on it because, you know, or making it harder sometimes for technicians to generally work on it because, you know, you may have to have a certain manual or something to work on it. Which is rather frustrating, to be honest. It pisses me off. I mean, not that I can't get access to those things, and it's not that I can't do that, but, you know, it still pisses me off to some degree that, you know, something that could be a simple $2, not $2, but a simple $5 job or something like, you know, like something really simple, and it wouldn't cost a bloody fortune to do it. You know, something like that. Yeah, I mean, look, they make it a virtually impossible task to do because basically you've got to strip down the entire machine to get to one part that you want to get to, whether it be the fan or whether it be something else. And there's the other factor of the fan too, like fans, even some of the fans on the internal fans. Some of these units, the internal fans in laptops in particular, are extremely difficult to get to, in the sense of, like, you know, you've got to strip out everything, take the keyboard off, take the back off, take a few other parts off, including add-on cards and things like that on the inside, and, you know, I mean, by the time you add all that up, and it's like, well, what the fuck, you know? I mean, not that I have any issue with doing that, but I think it's a bit ridiculous. You have to go jump through that many hoops just to get to something that should be a relatively simple thing to get to, or should be a relatively simple thing to fix. Yeah, but just food for thought in that sense of laptops and stuff. Not that I mind working on laptops, and not that, I mean, some of the laptops, like the bigger gaming laptops, like the bigger, I mean, if you're going for a laptop, I'd buy a gaming laptop because they've got bigger components. Most of the time they've got a thicker system, so they're actually a lot thicker and a lot you know, like, they're a lot bigger, and the components are a lot easier to get out, in and out sort of thing. There's also the upgradability factor. You can't upgrade the video card in a laptop. Simple as that. It's just a simple fact. You have to upgrade that. Well, pretty much you can't. There's no way to upgrade it in a laptop. You can upgrade it in a laptop if you have add-on card options, like like a PCI Express slot sort of thing built into the motherboard, like a little mini one or something like that. Things like that, you can just, if it has add-on card options, you can do that. But no, normally not. I mean, that's just something from personal experience with laptops. Laptops don't frustrate me completely, though. The software side of things never really frustrates me. It's more the hardware thing sometimes does frustrate me a little, in the sense of just being able to fix them straight away, or taking my time with them, you know. As long as if it's overly difficult, but I mean, there's some things that they make the task harder than it should be. You know what I mean? And that's just a personal feeling that I have myself, just from all the electronics and stuff, some of the stuff that I've come across. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much, YouTube. That was my little video combination, just talking about things I'm going to be doing with my channel, and also talking about laptops and repairs, which I haven't got any more repairs recently, but I should get some soon at some point. In the not too distant future. But yeah, this is just from personal experience with laptops and things of that, all-in-one units, things of that nature. Software repairs, most of the time, are pretty. Most of the time, are pretty easy. But I mean, at the same time, they're not overly easy to. I mean, if it's a really bad infection, normally you have to run 2 or 3 different scans with different antivirus tools and different anti-malware tools, and even then, you know, it can be hard to clean up some computers. But in most cases, you can clean up pretty well with most computers. I've never seen a computer that badly infected that it just won't work at all. I've had a couple I've had to reinstall the system on it and things like that, sure. But most of them, it's pretty easy to get fixed. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much, YouTube. I hope you enjoy my videos as usual. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Google+, and of course follow my head on over to my nephew's channel, which is Cannon Productions. He does some Let's Plays and things like that. He does a combination of same sort of stuff I do, but he's called his channels Cannon Productions. I think he's also had a segment on with The Amazing Atheist. Had a segment with The Amazing Atheist on the Drunken Peasants podcast. So yeah, definitely tune into that podcast if you can get the chance. Anyway, thank you very much, and stay tuned. As always, subscribe, like, leave a comment if you choose to. Thank you very much, and catch you YouTube. Bye.